Hi folks, Michael Vaughan. What's the story? What's going on? The press conference on the 1st of December was the worst. I didn't make an update video on Michael since, bar one small one, but I didn't see that coming at all. It's devastating. Michael wasn't found, and they also told us that they believe he is dead. They believe he was killed. They say they have evidence that he was buried in the Wanderer's backyard and that he was moved at a later date. A complete nightmare for his poor family, and it was the worst case scenario. They have no answers. Michael is not found, and now the police are saying that they strongly believe he is dead, and Fruitland PD would not go down that road unless they were confident, so they must have some pretty good evidence. I don't think they're going off one nutjob's word or anything like that. They have something, they have some evidence to back it up. They've also completely changed their language. You can see them talking about they were looking for a missing 6-year-old boy, and now they're looking for the remains of a 5-year-old. That press conference at the start of December was shocking. We also learnt that day about Brandon and Adrian, who were staying with and friends of Sarah and Stacey on the day Michael went missing. JD Huff told us that they believed that those two men had information regarding the death of Michael and they wanted to talk to them ASAP. The police were flooded with tips on locations and other details about the two men. It wasn't a manhunt, they didn't have arrest warrants or anything like that. However, I think they probably wanted to put a bit of pressure on, maybe. They believed that they had key pieces of information and they wanted that information straight away. And it was only about a week later, I think at the 8th of December, Fruitland PD gave another update stating that they made contact with both men. What did they tell them? I don't know. Brandon has already given an account of what happened that day, and it sounds like pure bullshit, to be honest. The details, some of the stuff he said, it sounds very sketchy. But that doesn't matter. What does matter is what he told police, and that could be completely different to anything that he says on the internet. But he didn't do himself any favours at all. To me, it sounds like he's covering up for someone or something. But you have to take note that there's no charges on those two men at this time, or anyone else. Stacey is in on unrelated charges, and Sarah is the only one who has charges connected to Michael. The police, it seems, are being very cautious about when they charge and what they charge. And I don't think they will charge anyone in this case unless they can make it stick. And the same day they said that they remain confident that all the evidence shows that Michael's remains have been moved. Sarah is the only one who has a charge at the moment. She's not charged with murder. She's charged with failing to notify of a death. She's going through competency hearings at the moment, so all her court appearances are delayed. She is a lunatic, but in my opinion, not insane. That won't fly. There is no way she did not understand what she was doing, and there's no chance that she did not know what she was doing was wrong. The next hearing for Sarah is on, I think, the 6th or 7th of February, so it's not long now until we find out a bit more. But there's lots of questions, like the police strongly believe Michael is dead. Where is his body? Is there anything that people can do to help? Do they know when he was transported? Why no murder charges yet? What did Stacey tell them? What did Brandon tell them? What did Adrian tell them? The latest police update from a few days ago hints that they are currently trying to validate information they got, probably off Adrian or Brandon or both. They asked for patience, saying there's a lot to it, basically. And they talked about the evidence that they recovered out the backyard at Sarah and Stacey's house. They said that there are several pieces, and some of that has been sent off to a private DNA lab. And obviously the indication there is that they're Michael's DNA. They believe he was buried in the backyard and later moved, so they're trying to prove that, I guess. Maybe they found something small in the backyard that might have Michael's DNA on it. And it's awful. This is really awful to think about. But all this info, you can't help but have a million things go through your mind. My biggest fear is that they will never find Michael and that his family will never get closure. What happened the day Michael went missing? How did he die? Why did this happen? Why was he buried in a backyard? Who was involved? Why was he moved? Where is he now? Like, you can't help but just think about those things. And just pure speculation and pondering from me. I've no idea, I've no info that anyone else doesn't have, but my mind jumps to what can we do to help? Do we know when he was moved? Do we know what car he was moved in, if it was a car? Like, maybe if we knew that, it might be able to put out a call to action to people to, did you see this car at this time? Or ask people to check, ring doorbell cameras for the car or something. More speculation from me, the credible tip that led to them searching the Wanderers house that day probably came from Stacey. He is locked up since May 2022 on unrelated charges, and a lot of his court documents are redacted. Again, I'm just guessing from me, but I think he is the credible tip that JD Huff talks about. Stacey and Sarah were married, I think, but not getting along. Did Sarah know that Stacey was going to talk? Did she move Michael's body then? The tip was that he was buried in the backyard, so would Michael's remains have been moved between May and December 2022? It would have to be moved after Stacey went to jail, and Stacey went to jail in May. This is all based off a shaky assumption that Stacey gave that tip. I could be completely wrong about that, but it seems the most likely to me that Michael's body would have been moved sometime after May 2022. It's a huge assumption by me, but if that did happen, where is he? Where did she put his body? It's horrific to think about, and I don't like doing it, but a small body like that, almost a year of decomposing, it's a little bag of bones really, but it makes me, you're forced to kind of think about it. What did she do? If it was Sarah that moved Michael, where did she put him? How does she transport him? I imagine in those type of situations you're looking at GPS on phones, GPS on a car if that's there, like anything at all to get a location on where he might have been moved. And I've tried to put myself in Sarah's mind, or whoever moved Michael's body, if that's what happened. And it's the same for anyone who gets rid of a body. It's nasty. You begin to think about some horrible things. Did she drive somewhere with no phone, Larry Millier style? Part of me hopes a car was used, because there might be some sort of trail or evidence of him being in the car. Worst case scenario I can think of is if she or whoever just put his remains in the trash. It's kind of scary to think about how effective that can be, especially when it comes to a small body. And if that did happen, if it was ever even admitted, you're still not going to find Michael. Another option that I'm fearful of is Snake River, which is just around the corner. No car would be needed, you'd be able to walk down, but it's so nasty thinking about this stuff. And terrifying, because you can't really think about justice in this case, because at the back of your mind, this fear of what if they never find Michael keeps going around. And if we're thinking about that, like, can you imagine what's going through the family's mind? Like, Michael's remains, Michael coming home has to be the priority in all of this. And it is kind of hard to focus on Sarah and Stacey and justice, because we don't have Michael home. We don't have his remains. We don't know where they are. It's the hope that'll probably kill you, and no matter what JD Huff tells the family, and no matter what they even say, I still think unless they have some pretty good evidence on Michael's remains, that there's always going to be just a tiny bit of hope of what if they're wrong? What if they made a mistake? What if everyone's making things up? What if Michael is alive out there and we've all stopped looking for him? It's just such an awful situation to be in. I don't think Michael's alive, unfortunately. I don't think JD Huff would be after saying what he is saying unless he had evidence and he was confident. Which is sad. It's so sad. And there's such an anxious wait, just waiting for updates from JD Huff, waiting from updates from Fruitland Police. But I do believe they're doing a really good job, and they're not going to stop. None of those police officers in that department or anybody else who's helping them out, they're not going to stop until they find Michael. They're not going to stop until they get answers, and we just have to give them time. As much as I have so many questions about this case, but I do trust them, and I think we all need to trust them, and hopefully we'll get some answers really, really soon. We'll have updates on Sarah next week. Will there be other charges come against other people in this case? I don't know, but the most important thing is we just need to find Michael, and I really hope they can track down where he is or get the information out of the person who put him there. Just tell us where Michael is. Fingers crossed we get some answers soon. Good luck. God bless. I hope everyone has a nice day.